His name was in the file, not buried, not coded, not hidden behind some alias. His actual name, written down by an actual detective sitting inside an actual police department. And for 30 years, nobody acted on it. 30 years. 13 murders, more than 50 documented sexual assaults, hundreds of thousands of people living in fear across California. And the whole time the answer was on a piece of paper in a drawer. This is the case of Joseph James DeAngelo. And what makes it truly disturbing isn't just what he did. It's what the system did, or more precisely, what it failed to do, every single time it came close to him. Let's go back to where this started, the mid-1970s, Sacramento County, California. A predator begins moving through neighborhoods at night, methodical, patient. He studies homes for weeks before he enters them. He cuts phone lines. He ties knots so elaborate that investigators later say they'd never seen anything like them. He leaves almost nothing behind. The FBI would eventually call him one of the most organized criminal offenders ever documented in American history. He becomes known first as the East Area Rapist. Then, when similar crimes with homicides emerge further south, as the original Night Stalker. For decades, investigators don't even know these are the same man. Same man. Different task forces, zero coordination. And then something changed. In 1996, a detective named Larry Crompton is working the case. He develops a suspect, a former police officer from Auburn, California, a man who had been fired from the force in 1979 for shoplifting dog repellent and a hammer. Dog repellent. The same type of substance the East Area Rapist had been documented using to subdue dogs during his attacks. The detective submits the name. The lead goes nowhere. The file gets shelved. That former officer's name was Joseph James DeAngelo. Let that settle for a moment. A named suspect, a documented connection, a prior termination from law enforcement, and the case moves on without him. This is the part nobody talks about. DeAngelo didn't just evade capture because he was careful. He evaded capture because the institutions designed to catch him were fragmented, underfunded, and at critical moments, simply not communicating with each other. He lived a quiet life in Citrus Heights. He had a daughter. He worked as a truck mechanic for a grocery chain. Neighbors described him as unremarkable, occasionally gruff, completely ordinary, gone, right in plain sight. The break finally comes not from a detective, but from a genealogy database. In 2017, investigator Paul Holes, weeks from retirement, partners with DNA analyst Barbara Ray Venter. They upload the killer's DNA profile, preserved from crime scene evidence collected decades earlier, to a public genealogy database called GE-Match. The algorithm identifies distant relatives. From those relatives, investigators build a family tree. Branch by branch, generation by generation, they narrow it to two possible suspects. One is too young. The other is Joseph James DeAngelo, age 72, Citrus Heights, California. This is where the case breaks open. Detectives begin surveillance. They need confirmation, DNA from DeAngelo himself, obtained without his knowledge, without a warrant for his person. They follow him. They wait. And in April of 2018, DeAngelo discards a tissue outside his home, a paper bag from a restaurant, items left in a public space, legally collectible. The lab runs the comparison. It's him. On April 24, 2018, Joseph James DeAngelo is arrested in his driveway. He's wearing a bathrobe. He says almost nothing. In 2020, he pleads guilty to 13 counts of first-degree murder and admits to the pattern of crime stretching back to 1975. He is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But here's where it gets interesting and genuinely troubling. Investigators later confirmed that DeAngelo's name had appeared as a viable suspect before genetic genealogy ever entered the picture. The 1996 lead was real. The connection was documentable. And the question that nobody in law enforcement has fully answered, even now, is a simple one. What happens to the cases, the victims, the families, the decades of fear, when a system has the answer and doesn't follow through? 50 women, 13 families who lost someone. All of them living with consequences that a single followed lead might have prevented. DeAngelo is in prison, the case is closed, but the failure that let him operate for 30 years? That part has never really been examined. Not officially, not publicly, not in any way that might prevent it from happening again. And that, more than anything, is the question worth sitting with.